Hi, guys. Welcome back to the Christ to Me podcast. My name is Christina, your host. And today we have a very special guest. His name is Marino, aka the More Natural. And I'm so excited for him to be on this podcast today. So, welcome, Marino.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
And the reason why he's here today is because he is a naturopath and he is going to be talking everything about natural health. So, I have been wanting for him to come on this podcast since I started, which was not too long ago, but I'm so happy you are here. And we're going to just dive right into it. I mean, how did you get into naturopathy?
So I believe it was in 2017 or 2018. I was on the hunt to improve my eyesight naturally without having to resort to laser eye surgery. While researching, I came across someone's testimony online, and he claimed to have reversed his myopia using Dr. Sebi's healing methods. Now, at first, I was a bit skeptical, but as I started going further down the rabbit hole and looking into Dr. Sebi, I came to an understanding that although we categorize diseases as all different from one another, the root problem is always the same. So from there, I decided to give Dr. Sebi's healing methods a try, and I significantly benefited from it. And I was amazed with the end results and wanted to use my experiences to help other people with their health problems. From there, I think it was 1 year later, I signed up for naturopathy school. I completed it, and the rest is history.
That's amazing. Honestly, thank you for sharing. It's crazy how it's like your own testimony led you to an open door where God was like, "This is what your path is going to be," and you got to help others. You just
Yeah,
got to put yourself
what I
out
was
there.
meant to do.
It is. It definitely is. I truly believe it is. And in regards to natural health, what are the main factors for our healing, for our body?
Yeah, so I like to call them my three pillars of health, and that would be nutrition being the first, physical exercise, and sunlight. Now, sunlight is often overlooked, and the sun's energy is important to all life on Earth. Because sunshine boosts levels of serotonin, which is why we tend to feel happier and more energetic when the sun shines, right? So, vitamin D deficiency is very popular in North America,
Mhm.
right? And that's something that we lack, and we need natural vitamin D.
I agree, but it's also because like the parts of where we live in the world. I mean, we are from Canada, us, and I mean the weather's just not it over here.
Yeah, exactly. Most of the time it's cloudy, snowing, rainy,
Yeah,
especially in Canada.
but I find like when we do actually go down for the sunlight and actually get vitamin D, there, I guess we take it to the extreme where it's like we haven't had it, so we just kind of roast in the sun all day long and be like, I don't know, kind of get sunstroke or kind of get like a really severe sunburn. I mean, I know for me, for example, um, coming from my experience, I mean, I'm someone that I get very severe reactions from the sun. I get severe burns, I get boils, and I get a lot, lots of flare-ups. And
Yeah.
I mean, how would you answer people who have like allergic reactions to the sun?
While the exact cause of an allergic reaction to the sun is still unknown, but I believe all allergies are the result of toxicity being built up in the body throughout your life. It usually happens due to an antigen antibody response and a combination of the immune system reactions, certain medications, and chemicals that make the skin more sensitive. Therefore, to relieve these allergies, one would have to remove, firstly, all processed sugar from their diet and then gradually work their way towards cleansing.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's very interesting. So, would you say that, I mean, because we get such reactions. I mean, I know a part of it is the food, but would there also be a problem with the sun? Do we get too much sun exposure sometimes, or is there a certain part where it's like the sun is too strong, or
Yeah. So, well, if you're sheltered from the sun all year long, and you work inside and you get off of work and you come home and you're inside as well too. then the one time that you do go out in the sun and you're just chilling there on the beach for, let's say, like 6 to 8 hours, it's
Yeah,
only normal that you're gonna burn, right? Because humans are not meant to just lay there in the sun.
I agree.
We're usually in and out of the sun, taking shade and then getting sun exposure. So the the best times to take sun is very early in the morning or very late in the afternoon, and you should avoid sun exposure at its strongest point. That's between noon and around 3 to 4 p.m.
It's interesting you say that because that's basically the Mediterranean lifestyle. I mean,
Yeah,
I've researched that, and I feel like I'm like a Europe girl at heart. But basically, it's like over there, it's they have sun exposure all day long, but they have specific times where the sun is at its lowest and they're out and about, they're doing errands or they're working. But when the sun is at its strongest, that's where they take time to rest and be indoors and just kind of like have that break from the sun.
exactly.
And it's crazy because I feel like Mediterranean lifestyle, not just with the sunlight, but even with food, I feel like it truly is the way to go. Like, do you believe that it's the truth that the Mediterranean lifestyle is the way to go?
Well, here's the thing: when it comes to diet, there are things that apply to everyone, and then there are things that pertain to certain groups of people. For example, staying away from sugary foods, cold cuts, and modified oils, applies to everyone. But when it comes to certain types of grains, fruits, vegetables, and the types of meat that you're consuming, these can be more specific. The Mediterranean diet, with the incorporation of alkaline foods, is a healthy diet to follow. The diet is primarily plant based and also leaves room for small portions of meat. So, in addition, it's also important to note that dairy is off limits, so you should avoid dairy at all costs because it's super inflammatory and we don't need it.
That's true. That is so interesting. I mean, like those are specific facts that I never knew about until you've brought them to light into my life, and I was just like, there's so many things are wrong with our food guides, like in, I guess, the Western world and in Canada and stuff. Like we have specific food guides that we follow, and dairy is a like a big part of it. And
Yeah,
it's crazy that it actually isn't. It's actually not important. It's so bad for us.
yeah,
So that is crazy. So we just talked about a bit of food, and now I want to go a bit into the pharmaceutical industry because that as well plays a big part in health, right?
yeah.
So like, how would you describe big pharma in one word?
Scam?
A scam.
Yeah.
Now we're talking. Now we're talking. So how would it be a scam? Like how is this your opinion?
Because they're not really interested in actually trying to help people recover and get better, right? Pharmaceuticals are used to treat and minimize the symptoms of ill people. Therefore, they're not teaching people how to take control of their health. Rather, they're teaching people how to be dependent on them for drugs. And it becomes a vicious cycle, right? Because you may start with one drug for one health problem and then end up needing to take more drugs in the long run due to the side effects of the first drug. Fast forward a couple of years later down the line, and you're now taking five or more drugs per day, and you haven't really solved anything.
Yeah, you know what? I agree with that. Like that is so powerful. Like that knowledge that you have is so powerful because it truly it truly is eye-opening to people that actually do take medications.
Yeah,
And I'm one of them. Like I deal with autoimmune diseases. I have been diagnosed with them, and I have specific medications that I need to take for life, right?
yeah,
And these medications, they don't technically treat the problem. They don't treat, autoimmune is all about antibodies. They don't treat the antibodies. They just protect your organ, but it
yeah,
doesn't necessarily go to the root of the problem. It doesn't treat the problem itself.
yeah. It's like a band-aid.
It's a band-aid, exactly. It's just covering that,
Yeah,
gland for you or organ. And you know what? It's just medications in general, I find we're so in this. in this world right now, we're so reliant on it, and I feel like, you've told me multiple times where it's like it goes back to our ancestors where they didn't use any of this. Like they never had to go to a pharmacy and go get prescription drugs, or had to go to a doctor's office and diagnose themselves with something.
Yeah,
And they treated themselves naturally with what God has given us in
yeah.
this
And they
world.
didn't need a book to tell them what to eat either, right? So
I agree.
they just they knew through their instinct and observing the natural environment.
I agree. And you know what? It's their instinct is God as well, right? So like back then it was they followed the way of life, the path that God, and God has,
Yeah, the natural arrangement of life is what
I
I like to
I
call it. Yeah,
agree. And God has literally put everything that we need for our body on this earth,
in place. Yeah,
It goes back to Genesis, which actually I'm gonna actually read it. I mean Genesis, it says Genesis on Genesis 1:29 to 30, it says, then God said, I give you every seed bearing plant on the face of the whole earth, and every tree that has fruit with seed in it. They will be yours for food. And to all the beasts of the earth, and all the birds in the sky, and all the creatures that move along the ground, everything that has breath of life in it, I give every green plant for food. And it was so. And this is exactly what it is. Like, this is exactly what is the truth. God, of course, is everything that is God related is the truth of life, and
yeah,
anything that He has put in on this earth for us to eat or consume, that is what He has given us, not the man-made hybrid, products, right?
exactly. Yeah,
And it also goes back to what Dr. Sabi. I mean, just reading that from the Bible, from Genesis, Dr. Sabi is an amazing man. Well, he is deceased, but he's an amazing man that Marino has mentioned several times to me, and I'm in such awe of him. And this is an amazing quote that he had said. He had said, "I want to speak the truth, even if it kills me. Truth is, your Bible says the herbs are for the healing of a nation, but when you get sick, you take the chemicals." And this is so powerful because it's we're so reliant on chemicals to make us feel better, but it does not help us. What truly helps us is what God has given us.
yeah.
And
Definitely, healing is a journey, and it takes a lot of effort and discipline to get to where you want to get. And most people just want the quick fix,
mhm,
so they take the easy way out.
yeah, and I think that also makes a lot of people lazy. I'm guilty of that.
Yeah,
I'm someone who's very lazy as well, and I don't spend my time doing research or properly, trying to cook specific meals that are actually suitable for my body, are actually good for my body.
right.
I just want, I come home from a long day of work and I'm just something very quick and easy, and it
Exactly.
shouldn't be like that, because then it leads you into a lot of problems, and then you become reliant on medical
Yeah,
medication because that's what you feel it can is the only solution for you. That's
right.
that's so powerful. And talking about food now, like we're gonna roll back into the food because I think we did a bit of talk on the medication. But for the food, I wanna go into a bit of organic food actually. Like, is organic food really healthier for us?
Organic diets, as we know, lead to less antibiotic exposure and pesticides. I mean, it's not 100% clean, but it's definitely better than conventional food.
Mm.
So if you had the choice and it's available, you're better off taking organic foods versus conventional.
Okay. But I mean, what's the difference between like hybrid and natural?
That's a good question. So hybrid foods, for the most part, are foods that have been cross-pollinated artificially to create different varieties, right? Now, natural foods have undergone minimal processing or have not been tampered with at all. So those can be wild foods, for example, that exist out in nature.
Okay. And actually, it's so important to emphasize the wild because it truly is magnificent on like what it actually can do for you. Like I was someone that I eat a lot of meat, I eat a lot of fish, and I need some omega 3, and I I came to Marino and I was like, okay, like I need I don't know, like I can't stay away from meat. Like I need something that will replace, the natural the red meat that we eat, today. And he's like, well, try bison meat. And I was like, bison. I'm like, what is
Yeah,
bison? So then he actually made me try it, and then it was amazing. It gave me so much energy.
yeah, and it's leaner too.
It's leaner. There's less fat as well.
Yeah,
And then it was the same with the salmon. I mean, I used to always buy just regular salmon at the grocery store, and then Marino was like, "What are you doing? Like, this is not the salmon you should be eating. Like, you're the omega-3, like it's not natural omega-3." And he's like, try wild caught salmon. He recommended me of where to go. And the first time I tried wild caught salmon, I was amazed. I Not only does it is the color different or the taste is different, but it truly does wonders to your body. Like it makes you feel so light and so good, and it gives you that omega-3 that you need, right? And I was
exactly.
I was always the type, I'm like, but it's salmon is salmon. Like, what's the difference? And I was so stubborn as well. I mean, at the beginning of my journey, I was so stubborn to like even open my eye and be like, okay, no, I'm not gonna switch to anything. And then he's like, no, like switch and you will see the difference. And
Yeah,
that's exactly what happened.
yeah, and it's also like what the animals eat too, right? So, for example, grass-fed beef is much better than beef, where they're being fed GMO foods.
Of course.
So because you receive that after when you eat it, right? So that also matters too, what the animals are eating.
Exactly. Like I guess the the farms they're raised in and what they use in those.
Yeah.
And I feel like, I mean, in I guess in the Western world specifically, our farms are filled with pesticides and
Yeah,
acid.
antibiotics,
Even
growth
when, yeah,
hormones.
and even when it rains, it's like it's acid rain. It's not actually pure rain
Yeah.
anymore, you know. So that's crazy. Thank you for shedding some light on, hybrid versus natural. Now we're gonna actually go back into the medication a bit. I mean, I want to know. I think this is something that a lot of people probably are very iffy about, like the flu. Okay, what is it about treating something like the flu? Like, how can you do this natural? What are the remedies for
Like
it?
COVID, you mean?
Like COVID. That's another episode too.
Well, it's important. It's first things first. It's important to let your body do its thing and not interfere with the process. Your body has its own natural immune response, and you want to give it a fighting chance, right? So if you get the flu, I would suggest consuming herbal teas such as ginger and elderberry because these will aid the body in fighting and recovering quicker. You also want to stick to eating light foods such as fruits or vegetable soups. And also, I may add that you also want to drink at least 3 to 4 liters of natural spring water. You know, also, another thing that's important is to pay attention to the signs that your body is giving, right? So, if, for example, you're sick, most of the time you tend to lose your appetites. And, you know, that happens on purpose because your body is trying to reserve its energy for healing instead of using its energy for digesting. So when you get sick, your body is actually telling you to fast. But most people think the opposite. And what they usually do is they eat more food because they think that if they don't eat that, they'll be weaker, right?
Yeah.
Or that it'll take them longer to recover. But it's actually not the case.
I love that you said that because I am someone that like I do it myself where it's like when I'm sick or even like if someone comes to me and they tell me that they're sick, I'm gonna be like, okay, well, you have to eat, you gotta eat. Like I always thought in my mind and my perspective that food was always the most important, you
Yeah.
know? And then it's like now that you said this, it brings a different light to it and it's like, no, but like firstly water is more important, and then everything like your body needs that energy to like really feel like get yourself,
Yeah. We
feeling
eat too
better.
much. We have to eat less in general. right?
We have to eat less.
Yeah,
I mean that is also why like in the Bible it's a sin to actually overeat because if
right.
you're overeating, it's like what are you doing to your body?
Yeah,
It's not treating it properly at all. And I feel like when it comes to treating things naturally, um you just meant we just talked about the flu, and now I actually want to bring this into a little bit of a topic of the autoimmune diseases because I do struggle with that, and I'm pretty sure like a lot of other people do struggle with that too. I've been diagnosed with autoimmune diseases. I have a lupus flares, I have Hashimoto, and autoimmune is when your body is literally attacking itself. Your cells are like overdrive,
right.
and even if you're protected by a certain medication, your antibodies will find another organ to attack. And it's the worst because you get a lot of symptoms, and sometimes you don't even know what to treat first.
Yeah,
There's symptoms that could go on with your eyes, with your mouth, with your hands, with your kidneys, anything and everything, and you just don't know what to treat. So you rely on medication. But I was so reluctant because when I first got diagnosed, I was like, no, like I don't want to take medication for this. And I went to Marino, I'm like, Marino, can you help me with it? And he's like trying to like, you know, tell me about certain things that could help me. But it was to the point that I did need a medication in order for a specific organ to work properly. And when you deal, for example, with Hashimoto, my thyroid needed to function properly with medication. So I took it as like kind of I kind of just surrendered. I'm like, okay, I need to take this. Let me take it. And then you know, I guess with autoimmune, like how would how did I get to that point where it's like my body is literally fighting against myself? Like I've never understood it, but
yeah. Well, Hashimoto's is generally like understood be a malfunction in the immune system, where the immune system is tricked into attacking the thyroid gland, right? So the disease is a result of mucus caused by toxins and acidity, clogging up and you know, inflaming the gland. So what this does is it prevents nutrients from coming in and waste from getting out of the body. So specific foods like wheat may play a role in triggering thyroiditis, but it's the sum of what we consume over the years that drives inflammation. So it's the totality of everything as which is the reason why you get this problem in the first place.
yeah. But you know what? It's so scary because it's like I feel like more and more people are just getting sick and like at a younger age too. Like I'm not even 30 yet, and I'm getting diagnosed with all kinds of stuff, and I was like, what? Like I feel so blind to the fact that there was this whole other truth, about healing your body, and I almost feel like I was deprived, or like we all been deprived of like specific knowledge that we could have actually used and not get to the point where we're so sick, you know?
Yeah, preventative medicine. It's hidden from us.
Of course.
Yeah.
And I feel like, you know, not only is it hidden from us, but even the food, like even if it's natural food that it's actually out there for us to see, it's expensive. It's expensive for us to even, someone that doesn't have the budget to go and buy something that is actually good for them, they will resort to their next thing, which will be, what I guess what the groceries have, something that's hybrid, right? You talked about wild strawberries a while ago, and you were saying that they go for about 10-12 bucks, 10
Yeah,
dollars, and like
container.
that is so healthy for us. But then you would go and buy something like chips that are like $2, you know?
Exactly. The bad food is cheaper and the healthy food is more expensive.
Of course. And I
You
mean, I
just
guess,
got to do the best that you can
yeah,
do and you know replace certain foods that you were eating and find alternatives, like if you were, let's say, to on a weekly basis you buy 2 bags of chips and sweets. well, instead of buying those things, switch over and substitute it for fruits, for
Yeah.
example, right?
It's
So,
all about, well, I mean, everyone says it's moderation,
yeah,
but it also is about like, really changing
yeah,
everything, and we'll go into that in a bit. But I first want to actually know about the importance of fasting, because you've said this already with the flu,
yeah.
about dealing with the flu. So what is the importance of fasting? Like what does it do for us?
So, fasting has been around since the beginning of time,
Hmm.
right? Humans were always fasting, animals fast as well, and humans used to eat only when we were hungry. So eating 3 meals daily is relatively a new concept. And before, maybe hundreds to thousands of years ago, we were eating once, maybe max twice a day, right? And on top of that, the foods that we were eating were healthy foods from the land,
Hmm.
right? So we weren't saturating our body with processed foods and GMOs and modified oils
Yeah.
and so on.
You know what? That's so true. And I feel like also fasting is not only like to cleanse yourself like physically, but spiritually and mentally. Like those are the times where it's like you are at your most vulnerable, and
Yeah,
that's where you can hear you
yeah,
can God you can hear God so clearly. And it's truly amazing because he will like talk to you in so many ways during
yeah.
that time. And I feel like, you know, um, when the only fasting that I really know is like from where in the Bible with when Jesus fasted, right?
Or 40 days and 40 nights. Yeah.
Exactly.
And also to add to what you were saying, there are different types of fasts, right? There's intermittent fasting, juice fasting, uh, water fasts. So they all benefit the body in different ways. And the harder the fast is, the better the results.
Yeah,
I personally intermittent fast every single day, right? But at least once or twice a year, I do extended fast for at least 12 days or more.
that's amazing. And you need like willpower, because that I think that's where a lot of the temptations come in, and the devil truly knows what he's doing during that time as well, because he's like, food is truly an attack from the enemy. Sometimes like the devil himself will use food to like get at you and be like, put this in your body, put this in your body. And he knows it's harmful for you, because whatever you put in your body, it's either good or it's bad. If it's not from God, it will be from the devil, right? And
Yeah.
what he will tempt you with will be like all kinds of cravings that you never even knew about. And then it's like, I feel like when you have that willpower and you say no, like I'm not gonna have this, like your whole mindset changes, and your perspective, your palate basically reverses to its like natural
Yeah, it
state.
resets itself.
Exactly. And it's like it's something that you're craving. Like let's say it could be
You could be craving spinach even though you never craved it before, and all of a
that
sudden that comes to
that's
light.
insane. And then it becomes a lifestyle. It becomes a lifestyle instead of a diet, right?
Yeah, exactly. You want to make it a lifestyle because with the lifestyle you're able to reform your habits. So
Hmm.
break bad habits and
Yeah,
be consistent with it and discipline,
exactly.
moving forward. Versus a diet, when somebody says that they're on a diet, it usually implies that they're eating certain foods or a certain way to lose weight.
Yeah,
But a lifestyle change is what's really needed to have a greater impact in the long run.
I agree. You know what?
Down to the foods that you eat, the exercise, even going as far as the shampoos that you use, the toothpaste, the makeup, everything.
Even things that you drink, alcohol.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Alcohol too. Alcohol is pure poison, so
Uh,
stay away from that.
I learned from that, guys. But you know what? It's like people have said like alcohol is the all that drink, and it's like it's truly not. Like those are lies from the enemy. Like the all that drink, guys, is water. Like
Yeah,
water is truly the all that drink, and that's what will replenish your soul.
exactly.
And you know what? It's crazy how food and exercise and even sunlight, like going back to those three main factors, could play such a huge part in our health, in our body. And I love that you are here and shedding light on this topic because truly in today's society, like you guys are like undercover, like we don't even hear about anything of this, you know? And I
Yeah,
find
we're low key.
you're low key, but you know what? You're doing such an amazing thing for a lot of people out there, myself included. Like you've helped me in so many ways as well. And I feel like God truly is moving to in you to like help others and just kind of like guide you on this path. And
Yeah.
he really is leading you towards people's truth, you know? And God really is the way and the truth. And I find like with you doing this and leading other people towards the truth about natural health, um, it's like that is their truth for them. Like God is working through you to say the truth to other
Yeah, to
people.
bring the message, and
Exactly.
ultimately you are the healer, so it's all up to you, right?
Of course.
I'll pass down the information, but
Yeah,
at the end of the day, it's up to you to decide how you want to go about it.
I agree. And you know what? That's truly important for us to know, for everyone to know about it. And thank you so much for coming in today, guys. This is Marino, aka the More Natural. He is on Instagram. He's on YouTube. I will put all the links down below in the description. You can feel free to follow him. You could even book a consultation with him. He has online consultation for those that are
Yeah,
not around the Quebec
or in
area.
person. Yeah, in the
Yeah,
clinic.
if you are in the Quebec area, you can always see him in person in the clinic, and he is always there to help you. You can go to him for like any problem that you have, medical wise or health wise or anything, even exercise treatments, like anything
Yeah,
that you want. He is there, and this was such an amazing topic, an amazing episode. I truly love talking about this, um, because it truly is overlooked in today, and I want to leave you guys with just one thing from the Bible in Ezekiel 4:9. It says, take wheat and barley, beans and lentils, millet and spelt, put them in a storage jar, and make yourself some bread. So, if you guys want a recipe for bread, it's in
there's a
Ezekiel.
recipe.
It's from straight from the Bible in Ezekiel 4:9, and there you have it. We'll be back on another episode with Marino, aka the More Natural.
Definitely.
We're gonna have him talk about healing, and we're gonna dive deep into it. So get ready for that, guys. So please like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Bye.